morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always, told out of Voice Radio. And yesterday, I showed you the Pokémon TCG raid battles. This new way to play the Pokémon TCG where 4 people, or you with 4 teams of Pokémon, team up and try and take down a big VMAX raid boss. And I explained it all in the video yesterday. I went through everything. So if you got any questions about the mode, yesterday's video is probably the place to go and get that information. Today, we're going to break it. Today, we're going to look at Pokemon that frankly break the Pokemon TCG raid battle. And honestly, if you want to have a nice, fun, fair game, you should table rule, you should have house rules that basically say you can't use these Pokemon. Because when I say they break the game, I don't mean, oh man, they're really, really good. No, I literally mean they break the intention of the game. They ruin the game quite literally. Now, the whole point of these is that you are fighting against one big Pokemon. If you're up in the level 3 Pokemon, you got a Pikachu VMAX with 2800 HP that either does 50 damage, 80 on a coin flip, or does 50 damage to everyone, or does 220 to you, and 100 to itself. And then we got Dreadnought with 3000 HP, 3000 HP, that does 60 damage and stops you attacking, 100 damage and stops you retreating, or just a flat 200 damage. Although, as we've seen, there are levels to this. If you're playing weaker Pokemon, they will have weaker Pokemon. Okay then. So what we're looking for here is Pokemon that are frankly unfair and will break the game. And the first one that came across me, and I'll be honest with you here, several people in the comments of the video I posted yesterday came up with this one as well, Zamazenta. You see, Zamazenta has got the ability Dauntless Shield, which prevents all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon VMAX. These are Pokemon VMAX. What that means is if you've got a Zamazenta on the field and neither of these Pokemon we've seen have attacks that can actually go through any of that. So what that means is that if you get this out, and remember there's no getting it out, you just put it down at the beginning. If you put this Pokemon out, you are basically immune to your opponent, the boss, for the entire game. Oh, yeah, you can't have a fun way of doing this with Zamazenta. It's not fair. You literally have a Pokemon that can't be attacked, and you just sit and run to the end and win the game. Kind of ruins it, don't you think? Now, there are a couple of others coming out they're out in Japan, they're coming out here fairly soon. The Zamazenta Amazing Rare has an attack that does 180 damage, and then next turn makes you immune to VMAXs, so you will have to attack with that once, but as soon as you attack with it once, and then assuming you keep attacking with it, you will have immunity for the game. There is a Decidueye coming that is immune to Pokemon GXs and Pokemon Vs, including VMAXs, and there is an Altaria coming that has the same ability. So if you have a team of 4 people, one's got Altaria, one's got Decidueye, one's got Zamazenta V, and one's got Zamazenta Amazing Rare, then the second you attack with Zamazenta Amazing Rare, you literally have an entire team of different Pokemon that is invincible to the raid bosses, and you cannot be touched in any way, shape, or form. That's going to make the game fairly easy. And for anyone that's wondering, there is an FAQ that they have put out, only a little FAQ, and it says, can the player's Pokemon use abilities? Yes, if the effects can be applied. Well, the effects absolutely can be applied here, ladies and gentlemen. The other one that sprang to mind for me immediately was the Beedrill from Team Up. Because you see, the Beedrill from Team Up has got an attack that for a single energy, if there is any damage on Beedrill, you knock out Beedrill and the active Pokemon. Both active Pokemon are knocked out. Oh. Yeah, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, that will get an instant one-hit KO and win the game. Now, the rule with this mode is that if you can do the effect of the attack, if you can use the text, you do use the text. Maybe there's an argument here, but because there's 5 active Pokemon, this doesn't really work because you can't apply it to both. But I do think that's a fairly weak argument. Beedrill's going to come ahead and break the game. Now, one of the first ones that came to mind for me was Sigilyph. Many of you suggested SABLE IV, and it's all the same thing. You see, Sigilyph has got an attack that for 2 energy, but again, it doesn't matter because we don't have energy in this game, does 30 damage plus 10 more for each damage counter on your opponent's active. And if it's damaged, you put 3 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. Sableye, on the other hand, takes that and just goes to the nth degree. 10 damage plus 60 more for each damage counter on your opponent's active. Which means, let's say one of your players is playing Dragonite. That's one of the ones they suggested in the video. It's a very good one. You do 270 damage. Well, all of a sudden, now the raid boss has got 270 damage on it, or 27 damage counters. So now we're doing 27 damage counters times 60, and we are doing 1,620 damage. Oh, sorry, forgot to add the 10 base. We're doing 1,630. But of course, you wouldn't just be using Dragonite, so you make sure that Sableye attacks last. You attack with 3 big beefy Pokemon, and then if you haven't knocked out the raid boss, which you won't have done, Sableye will come along and do literally thousands of damage, and it's a way of guaranteeing that you always win the game before the raid boss ever gets an attack off. I like Sigilyph, but it doesn't guarantee a win like Sableye does. Speaking of guaranteeing a win, how about the KArtana from Unbroken Bonds? KArtana from Unbroken Bonds has the attack False Swipe. Flip a coin, if heads, put damage counters on your opponent's active Pokemon until its remaining HP is 10. Now, to be fair, this doesn't guarantee a KO because it is on a coin flip, and you can't play something like a Glimwood Tangle Stadium to increase the chances of flipping heads. That would let you reflip if you flip tails. But if you flip ahead, you put them down to 10 HP remaining. At that point, it's basically over. Given that abilities can be used, presumably that would mean you would be able to use the Garbodor from Rebel Clash that's got an ability that lets you poison your opponent's active Pokemon. So you would actually be able to poison them and then attack with KArtana. And yeah, that would be a little bit ridiculous, ladies and gentlemen. A little bit ridiculous. Speaking of ridiculous, one of my least favourite cards in the game is one of my favourite cheeky cards to play here. It's Galarian Cursola. Because you see, we've already said you can use abilities if they're able to be used. Well, Galarian Cursola's got the ability Perish Body. If this Pokemon is in the active spot and is knocked out by damage by an opponent's attack, flip a coin. If heads, the attacking Pokemon is knocked out. Now again, we're on a coin flip. There's no guarantee this is going to work. You could fail the flip. But you get knocked out here, and you flip a coin, and if heads, you win the game. No ifs, no buts, no babies. You win the game right there and then. That's kind of hilarious, ladies and gentlemen. Now, one that isn't quite so broken but is very, very fun nonetheless is Mimikyu. You see, we've got a Mimikyu that copies attacks. It's the one from Team Up. It's a fairy version. Now, we did have a psychic version, but that unfortunately did go and get rotated. Although we don't think rotation actually works here. We were shown an Evolution Charizard in the video, which suggested very much that we are going to be able to use pre-rotation cards here. So you can go a little bit nuts with other combos. But we're focusing on standard format today. There are some expanded ones which are good, but we're focusing on standard format. 2 energy copycat. If your opponent's Pokemon used an attack that isn't a GX attack during their last turn, use it as this attack. Now, you could copy Pikachu to do 220 and 100 to yourself and knock you out, which would be bad. But then again, you could copy Dreadnought's Bite to do 60 damage and stop them attacking, and that would be kind of hilarious. Not quite as broken as some of the other ones on this list, but one I wanted to mention. YVELTAL-GX is another one where you can absolutely guarantee a KO and a win before the raid boss ever does anything. Because YVELTAL-GX has a GX attack, and you can use them. And for 1 Darkness Energy, if your opponent's active Pokemon has exactly 4 damage counters on it, that Pokemon is knocked out. So all you need to do is make sure that you use YVELTAL second, use any Pokemon that does 40 damage first, and then YVELTAL will get a 1-hit KO and just instantly take the raid boss down. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Now the last one I'm going to mention here is GARCHOMP and GIRATINA. Now this one, it's been suggested by a couple people. I don't think it would work. Now GG the End discards one of your opponent's Pokemon and all cards attached to it. But there is no discarding here. There is one raid boss Pokemon, and the only discard pile that exists is for the attacks, or for cheer counters, or cheer cards, whatever you want to call them. So I think this would fit in the category of it doesn't make sense, so you can't do it. There is no discarding the Pokemon, because there is no discard pile where that raid boss would go. And because there is no discard pile, I don't think it would work. The good news is I've given you more than half a dozen examples of Pokemon that would just out and out break the game and guarantee a victory, so I think those alone will be good enough for now. But I'd like to know what you think. I'd like to know which of these are your favourite. I'd like to know if you are going to play with these, or whether you think it ruins a spirit. And of course, if there are any that outright break the game, i.e. guarantee a victory, and I haven't mentioned them in this video, do let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.